Going through trials, difficulties, suffering, and pain doesn't mean that God has forsaken you or that you're a bad person. And it especially doesn't mean that you deserve what's happening to you. Today, I want to talk to you about a verse in the Bible that speaks to our situation, especially if you're in pain or you're struggling. John chapter 16, verse 33 says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. I worked as a hospice chaplain for some time, and I was very close to people who were dying. I had the opportunity to often sit at the bedside of people who were literally taking their last breath, and I would hold their hand as they were passing away. One of the questions that came up, I think the most often in my entire time there, not just by the patients, but also by the family of the patients was, why am I suffering? I've been good. And the implied message there was that if they were faithful believers, they would never suffer, they would never struggle, they would never have difficulty. The opposite is actually true. Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you're going to be exempt from struggles, suffering, and pain. In fact, in this chapter of the book of John, Jesus is giving his final discourse to his disciples. Later on in chapter 17, he's going to start praying for them to have strength because this is it. Right after this, he's going to be imprisoned and taken as a prisoner and then eventually crucified, and he's going to die. And so he's preparing them because he's about to go through a bunch of suffering. And you would think, well, if anybody would be exempt from suffering, it wouldn't just be a Christian, it would be the Christ, it would be Jesus. However, he was not exempt. He was familiar with sorrows, as the book of Isaiah says. He was a man of sorrows. He not only was rejected by his disciples, which he told them that they would do in chapter 16 of John, since they all scattered and they left, they deserted him. He also went through literal physical pain and eventually was put to death. So the reason why that's important is because we need to understand that we are not going to go through life without experiencing pain. That is part and parcel of a world that's full of sin. What we can take heart in is in the fact that just because we are in pain doesn't mean that we are forsaken. And that is what Jesus is trying to comfort his disciples by saying. He's saying, look, even though you will go through pain, I've overcome the world. And he's not saying once you go through difficulty, once you go through suffering, once you go through struggle, make sure to not hit me up again. Make sure to not call me back. None of that. He is saying, I am with you. So, no matter what it is that you are going through, first of all, if you are suffering, if you are going through trial, if you are going through difficulty, that doesn't mean that God has forsaken you. It doesn't mean that God has rejected you. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you are living in a sinful world. And in a sinful world, you are going to have struggle. That's a fact. So it has nothing to do with your salvation. It has nothing to do with whether or not you are in right standing with God. Here's the other side of that. Jesus is promising comfort for us during these moments of pain. So even if you are struggling, no matter what the reason is, you will be comforted, not just by Jesus, but by the Father who loves you himself. And that's one of the things that Jesus emphasizes in chapter 16. He's like, look, there's going to come a time where you're not going to need to talk to me so that I can talk to the Father. You can approach the Father yourself because the Father loves you just as much as I do. So take heart today. If you are struggling, if you are in pain, let us know in the comment section below and we'll pray for you. But if you're wondering whether or not God still accepts you because of this hardship and this trial, take heart. God has not rejected you. We're going to go through pain, but we can get through it with the help of God by our side. So don't give up. Don't lose hope and trust in God. Reach out to Him today. He wants to hear from you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.